I would have normally said new year, new song, but fuck that. That song is so dope.
Song makes the world go around.
Happy New Year, guys. Woo! Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
22. Guy, I don't know that I've ever been more excited for a year than this one.
Kind of agree with that. It's been like a long, like the thing is like dropping the expectation after living in the world of 22s for like 30 years is what's going to happen. You should explain.
I'm just so excited. For those, if you're new here, hi, welcome. This is our usual Tuesday hangout where we talk about all sorts of topics and share all sorts of goodies and wisdoms that are practical and can make a profound difference in your life. We also joke around a lot because, as someone had pointed out, Corey, we are a bunch of goofballs. I don't really think that spirituality and personal development needs to be so serious. It can be, but that's boring.
Sometimes it feels a little serious.
So we add a little life to it and humor, and yeah, if you can't laugh at life and or yourself, then what's the point, really? In any event, if you don't know, Guy and I, our favorite number is 22. And so going into this year,
I don't know that it's my favorite number. I just feel like
it's
it chose me or chose
yeah,
us or whatever more. So that I just see it everywhere.
yeah, we see this number specifically. Yeah, as Corey said, specifically 222 is the number that we see literally everywhere. It's almost like my kids are like, "What does it mean? What does it mean?" And I just say, to me, it mean when I see it, it's like angels going like, "You got this. You're on the right path. Keep going." Like it's just
Same.
like a validation of
Mhm.
something. But when 22 was rolling around, I was very much looking forward to this year. And then as I just shared in our coaches meeting earlier today, I said that on top of it, a friend of mine told me that this is the year of the tiger, which is also happens to be my spirit animal. So I'm hitting it from Gregorian calendar, the Chinese calendar. Like I got it all. I'm very excited for what's to come this year. Plus, we'll talk about this today, but Guy and I have been through a whirlwind of 2021, learned a lot, shed a lot, created new strengths in certain facets, built new foundations. So it feels like we're going into 22 in a way that we haven't gone into a year in a very, very long time. So it's all very, very exciting.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excited to be here. Hang with you guys. So, if you are new to the party, this is your first time in. We have a lot of you guys, especially considering we haven't done live training in a few weeks. Feel free to say hello in the chat box. Let us know that you are new to the Old Souls and Seekers community, just so you kind of know what to expect. Usually, these calls run about an hour. Ilan and I will usually chat about some kind of important topic, things that we're working on with ourselves, with our clients, and give you kind of a broad overview of what that might look like, and really show you the difference and depth of the work that we do here. We love all sorts of personal development, the books, the courses, the this and the that. What we have learned over these last 20 years of participating in our own work, working with various coaches and in so many different types of arenas, plant medicines, shamanic work, energetic work, mindset work, list goes on and on and on and on, is we've synthesized and taken all that and married these works together, because something that we have seen specifically over the last 5 years is what happens when you cultivate foundational mindset, and you bring in awareness practices with energy work together, you get yourself a profound secret sauce of transformation. And even with all our world travel and things that we've done, we've rarely seen, if ever, any sort of discipline that brings in both kind of what we call the growing up work, um, and the waking up work, or kind of like the Eastern work and the Western work, simultaneously brought together. And that's what makes what we do here very powerful and absolutely profound. So, whether you are somebody who's been in the depth of personal development work, or you've even meditated for decades at a time, what we share here, and certainly the work that we do, the practices, the events, everything is geared towards amplifying that work into places that most people have just never experienced, into higher states of consciousness, getting there much easier than most people imagine. I mean, we have a client that's been with us for about 6 months, I believe, that is a practice meditator of almost 50 years, and this work has just completely opened her up to a new way. So we really have a focus here, not just on getting your mindset right, that's really important, but also like, how do you go into the depth of yourself and create lasting, sustainable, and profound healing, so that you're not walking out of here 2 days later going, what was that experience? Why did that, why did I feel good for 2 days, but now I don't? Like, you actually know how to work with these components within yourself. And so we're going to start off the year. We probably should have done a little bit more overview on like just New Year's stuff. So Elon and I are going to have a conversation about self judgment, because I don't know about how many of you guys deal with this, but like the inner critic inside our mind is a really strong opponent, right? Like, how many of you guys?
Hey, can you just drop the link in for people that are new to be able to show their names in stream?
I can only do that right off the bat, and if I close that window, I don't have the link anymore. So my apologies. We'll have to do that next time.
We'll do that
Yeah,
next time.
next time. So yeah, like, how many of you guys have like a really strong inner critic? Say I in the chat box. You can
Yeah,
you
like
can.
just to give it a different name, something, there's a voice inside that you notice harshly judging yourself, uh, telling you that you're not smart enough or good enough, deserving enough. Uh, it's just constant, right? Like, do this better. You should have known to do that. Why did you say that? Just this constant barrage that's always there. And while you guys are answering that, I just want to let you know, if this is your first time here, so you're going to probably notice Corey, Jasmine, or Nikki will always be here on our Tuesdays calls, supporting you, and they're going to be interacting with you. They're part of our team. There are amazing, amazing coaches, support staff, and they're really here to simply guide you. So, coming into this community, and this Facebook group, for example, it can just be overwhelming, right? Like, there's just this and this and this and this and this. What I highly, highly, highly recommend is get in touch with them, and we'll let you guys know how you can do that more in depth. But just get in touch with them, whether on Messenger or whatever. They're here to simply guide you to the best resources for you at this time. We understand that people come here because they want X, Y, or Z. And rather than you have to try to rummage through all of the amazing goodness that's here, they can literally laser point you to what it is that you want to start at, where it is that you want to step next, et cetera, et cetera. So just kind of think of them as their like
Liaisons.
Sherpas that can help you on this spiritual trek, if you
Yeah.
will.
And by the way, have you seen 14 Peaks on Netflix?
No,
Okay. If you have not seen 14 Peaks or The Alpinist on Netflix, those two movies are absolutely life
I
changing.
heard Alpinist is amazing.
Yeah, 14 Peaks equally so. Yeah, anyway, so we can't go on that rant, but if you haven't seen it, wow. Yeah, so, back to the inner critic, and clearly those guys have some mastery in that area. So how many guys are dealing with the inner critic? And then how many of you guys, again, say I in the chat box, know that like this is a part of you that you try to console with, argue against, maybe even try to negotiate. Like, there's
Yeah.
some aspect, that you're trying to control this part, because you're like, damn, like if this part just didn't berate me all the time, I would feel better about myself. I would feel more confident, more capable, more you fill in the blank, right? Like how many of you guys can relate with that, right? So I don't think that there's any human being on planet Earth that is not dealing with some aspect of themselves, right? And if we really look at the development of this is like everything else in your life, a constituent part that was developed in relationship to your parental figures or your caretakers, right? So, of course, some people, were adopted or whatnot. So, and depending on certain perceptions that you came with, certain energy that you're around, and then certain ideals that you had about what was supposed to be and not be, like, those caretakers often become the voices of our caretakers, often become the voices of our inner critic. And Broski, I don't know if you're okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this cable.
So we'll do this as a really informal chat. Like I think it'll be beneficial for you guys to hear like what is the process when that's happening that Elon and I work with. Like what is it that we're actually doing inside of our own systems? What is it that we're becoming aware of? And how is it that by just doing these simple little things that you can you can placate, you can pacify this part of yourself, and so that you can come back into your alignment, because our work is all about how much time you spend in your alignment. Okay, it's not necessarily about like sacrificing or learning how to work harder or work better or anything like that. Like what Elon and I care about is the present moment, because truly that's all you have, and the only work that you can ever do to heal your insides, like to heal this subconscious part of yourselves. And subconscious literally means every part of you, the energetic body and the physical and non-physical, that you don't have conscious control over. Okay, like the rhythm of your heart. I don't care. You tell your heart to speed up, it's not going to do that, right? Like there's a conscious and an unconscious part. So like the subconscious is everything that you're mentally don't have direct control over. And I think it would not be a far stretch to say that this part of ourselves, this subconscious part, is really what's running the show, right? The conscious part is kind of the caretaker of this, and often the one that's responding to what's happening. However, if you're a good student of personal development and spirituality, you will have learned that the energy output of this subconscious, unconscious part of yourself is the reality that you're experiencing, right? And then you can either reaffirm that reality or shift that reality. And so we really want to talk about this aspect, because that's what's alive and real for all of us. Is this present moment is the only thing that you can work with. So if you don't mind, would you just kind of like, on your day to day, maybe when you're playing tennis, when things are getting,
Sure.
um, pressurized for you, like what does that process look like for you?
I just, someone asked, Stacy asked, what are your all goals with offering and sharing? So I just wanted to keep it in line with this particular conversation, because obviously I can go on a whole thing about that. But um, if I asked you guys, which would you rather be guided by, your inner critic or your intuition? Which would you say that you would rather be guided by? And as a second question to that, once you answer that first one, my curiosity is, because I'm assuming most of you guys will come back with you'd love to operate from intuition, right? I think most people that are here and most people that find our work, that's one of the biggest things that we find that people want. They're like, how do I live from my intuition? Like, how do I be guided by that? Um, but the real question is, right now, where you're at in life, is that the case? Are you actually guided by your intuition? Or would you say that the inner critic is kind of the one that's running the show,
Mm.
right? Like, which voice is louder? And this is a huge, huge part of the work that we do. Everyone wants to be guided by their intuition. The problem is, and I've said this for years, is your intuition, when you first start, is like Nora Jones at volume one, and your inner critic is like Metallica at volume 11. And you're like, why can't I just hear my intuition? Like, why can't I? Because you can't hear it. You have no awareness of what the voice sounds like. You have no awareness of where the voice comes from. You don't have a belief in it. You don't have a trust in it. And even in the moments that it tells you to do something, the response is like, that's crazy. Why would I do that? And you don't take action from that place. And then the intuition's like, all right, well, he or she is just not interested.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to step back. So what Guy's pointing to is like the only way that we can even start to get curious about how to listen to our intuition is we have to deal or get really related to what is there right now. And would you guys agree that what is there a lot of the time is the inner critic? It's the part that's berating you. It's the part that's also, by the way, we'll talk about this in a second, berating everyone around you.
Yeah.
You just do that vocally because at first it comes through this. It's like, like you're looking at your kid and it's like, why the hell are they doing that? And then it's like, why the hell are you doing that? Or, someone's at work or someone cuts you off in the car and this voice is like, what a fucking asshole. And then the next thing you know, it's like, oh, what a fucking asshole, right? It's a delayed response. It's like you hear it first, then you respond to that voice. So what Guy is pointing to is, and this is why you asked about tennis, I am ultra competitive. And I'm ultra competitive because one of my programs that I was blessed with when I grew up is this conversation that I'm a loser. And whatever your underlying conversation is, you part of the jail or whatever, the prison that we're in when we have one of these programs is that you need to prove to everyone out there that you are not this thing that you're most deathly afraid of being. So if I'm deathly afraid of being called a loser or seen as a loser, you'd imagine what my life would look like. I had to win at everything. Sports, school, relationships, like it didn't matter what, I had to be winning. That's exhausting. It's exhausting. To avoid something so blindly. Like it's not even that I had a choice. It was just this death feeling of when someone touched that part of I'm a loser or there was a perception out there that I'm a loser, it like it's a shutdown situation. And so everything has to be structured not to do that. So when I get on the tennis court, I had this voice constantly berating me. Move faster. You're too slow. Why don't you swing this way? You're such an idiot. Why don't you fucking do that? Da, 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 da. It's like, and the weird part is this voice thinks that it's helping you.
Mhm.
So as I'm hearing it, I'm like, oh no, it's motivating me. It's wanting to make me be better. But is it? Right? Like, do you feel really inspired and excited as this voice is yelling at you and you're trying to fall asleep? About all the things that you said or didn't say or did or didn't do or missed or are you like, "Oh my god, you know what? I'm going to wake up tomorrow, I'm going to be so much better." Is that like the no. You're like, "Shut up. I'm just trying to go to sleep." So the first step is for me was one of the biggest things that you've all heard in personal development is like you have a voice in your head and that voice in your head is not you. Okay? So we all know that, right? Like I'm going to take it to the next level. I'm going to tell you that you have hundreds, if not thousands, of voices in your head. All of them from little itty bitty boy and girl parts that got trapped in time that are terrified. And because they're terrified of experiencing shame, feeling like a loser, feeling like a coward, feeling insignificant, whatever it might be, they say things to you, and then there's other parts that try to say things to you to avoid that feeling. And so one of the things that became very clear to me was A, this voice that I'm listening to is not me. That was step one. But then starting to notice this part that's constantly yelling at me. And seeing not just this voice in my head, but seeing that this is one of the parts of the hundreds that's out there yelling at me. And starting a conversation to get curious of why is this thing there talking to me the way that it does? And what does it really want from me? Because if you're trying to fight this part, how many of you guys have tried to make this part quieter, make this part go away, silence it, numb it? How many of you guys have gone around about it that way? And have your attempts created any sort of result worthy of speaking of? Or is it like, I've tried this, I've tried that, I've tried that? No, voice is still there, still yelling. If you're in a fight with anything in your life, I mean anything, it could be the voice in your head, it could be the circumstance that you're in, it could be your financial situation, it could be your health, it could be your relationship. If there's a part of you fighting your current reality, I can tell you exactly how it is going to go. In fact, you can tell me exactly how it's going to go because that's how it's been going for months or years or decades. And it's not going to change. So, step one is noticing it. Step two is giving up this fight that you have to overcome this thing, change this voice's mind, give it some other pieces of information that it will magically somehow be on your side because it ain't ever going away and it ain't ever going to change.
So say a little bit more about, because it's it's one thing to tell people to surrender to voice, right? It's another thing when the voice is really saying some mean, awful shit. Like for those of you guys who have dealt with depression and maybe even suicide and things like that. Like that was kind of what my upbringing was. It's interesting, we're in a home, right, with the same parents, but you'll get how systems organize differently. Like Elon's system went more into like this avoidance, accomplishing thing, and I went into like feeling very alone and like really like berating myself from within. And again, it's like what we're actualizing. And unfortunate, it's not even unfortunate because to me it's like we came in as a soul wanting a certain experience. Those parents deliver that experience. That inner critic is creating pressurization in the system for a certain kind of awareness and awakening to happen. Now unfortunately the conditioning on our planet right now is, hey, we got to figure out a plan, we got to figure out how to get around this problem that we have or fix this problem that we have. And there's not a lot of healthy emotional and mindset conditioning, which really the healthy thing is you got to go through it.
Mm,
Like if you, because ultimately, what every one of these parts that has something to say, the reason it keeps going is the part hasn't been satisfied that it's safe in this world yet.
mm,
And just like feel into that for a moment in your own system, because safety is not something that's often talked about. We think of it in terms of physical safety. I know women, by the way, obviously deal with a lot less of physical safety, and physical safety is not something most men ever think of. But I'm not talking about physical safety. I'm talking about like it doesn't feel safe for you to be in this world. And I don't care how confident you are or not confident you are, everyone's dealing with this. Elon keeps talking about Will Smith and Will Smith's book, and he starts out the book by saying, I'm a coward. It's like the scariest thing for you to find out about me is that I'm a coward. Now, 99.9% of the public that knows anything about Will Smith would never actualize him and say, that person looks like a coward, because he's always doing, like, if you follow him at all, he's always out there doing the craziest shit. He's bigger than life. He's so happy. He's entertaining. Incredible actor. Seems like an incredible father and husband and all these things. Like, but you got to see that like what has motivated and sourced that life was that he had to protect his inner parts from feeling like he's a coward. So he
Yeah.
created a life that hides that from his surface. And then it's taken him 40 years to drill down through everything he created in his life to actualize that at the core is a little boy that feels like a coward. And his critic says things that you say to a coward, just like the way his father used to talk to him. Now, we all have that inside of our system. Now, so how is it that we bring safety to a system that has this inner criticism? Well, again, if you notice that the way that most people approach it is like, oh, I just didn't understand something in the right way. If I understand it differently, this part will change. But that's like trying to negotiate with this part. This part doesn't care what else your mind understands. It is locked in into your fascia, into the way the energy flows in your body, into like, all these automated processes that are subconscious, right? Unconscious, that you don't have control over, that have been programmed into your system. And so the negotiation and the planning and the trying to think differently, while helpful, is not ultimately effective. It's helpful in the way that when it's happening, you have awareness over it and you can kind of like pop out of it maybe a little bit sooner or bring yourself back into some state of awareness and balance, or maybe some habits that you have formed that you do, but like it's still alive and real in the system. And so that part is still not satisfied that it is safe in this world. And so it continues on its path of saying these things. And really the first thing we want to recognize, and like Ilan's pointing to, is that this part is trying to help you.
Yeah.
Even I know that may
I was
be
gonna
a
say it
hard thing
doesn't
to,
feel like that
yeah.
now.
It may not feel like that on the surface, but you got to get that the role of this part was never to harm. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's constantly trying to help you. It doesn't ask for anything in return. It doesn't sleep. It doesn't need food. It is just there. And it's like, we got to create safety. Here's how we do it. And it doesn't matter whether its modality was like something that ended up being negative or positive in your life. Like Natalie mentioned, her voice led her to anorexia. Yeah, like for whatever reason, in her mind's eye, that part was like, these are the actions we need to take, right? Maybe it's like, people who have body dysmorphia and things like that, right? It's like they feel like they need to look a certain way to feel safe in the world. I'll often use this example of like women who are rape victims sometimes will put on a lot of weight afterwards, right? And then that it's like they're literally cocooning themselves physically from the world. And then like if that's what gets driven into the system, it's like, hey, the only way I can feel safe is by adding weight to my body and being, less attractive or something like that. It's like then if you're trying to go on a diet and lose that weight, the body won't want to, because you're igniting that unconscious, that subconscious part of fear. And so the part's like, eat food, eat food, eat food. And so you're getting unhealthy, but to the part, it's generating safety, right? So just want to kind of get that in there. And so the really crucial part is like, we always want to look at healing in the same context that you would look at a relationship with a mother and a child, or a father and a child. The child is coming to you. This inner voice of you is again like this young part stuck in time, and it is having its kind of panic attack in there, right? It's having its moment. It's very afraid, and it needs something to satisfy it to bring it back to safety. And this is why people use substances. This is why people use television. This is why people use food. This is why people use sex, right? Like all these different, whatever it is for you, it doesn't matter. But like it's all trying to achieve the same thing. And that's what you got to get about the whole of humanity. Doesn't matter what side of an issue you're on. Doesn't matter what your religious beliefs are. Doesn't matter. I mean, like it might matter to you, but like for everybody, they're attaching themselves to these things because that's what they learned in their life. That's what their system learned that creates safety. And so you might be sitting on one side of the fence or the other of an issue and going, I can't believe they think that way. It's like, well, they can't believe you think that way. And you're both trying to achieve the same thing, which is just getting
Yeah.
back to safety. And so the way that we can get through this is not by thinking about it, but by actually starting to participate with it. Okay. And this is where the work really changes from where most modalities take you to, because most modalities have you try to figure out what's going on. Why did this happen? When did this start? What was a story that you generated? Okay, let's change the paradigm. Okay, and then you try to convince yourself and lie to yourself by telling yourself a story that your system doesn't believe is true. And you do it over and over and over again. And it kind of helps because that's better than telling yourself the same old story. But it doesn't satisfy the part. It doesn't bring safety to the part. And so what we really want to learn, and some of the no, not some, all the meditations we offer in this group are pointing at this practice of how to sit with this part. Okay, so again, if you have a little boy or a little girl who's upset and they run to mommy and daddy and they're like, "Mommy, daddy, I hurt myself," or they're really afraid because something happened, it's too dark, stranger or somebody's energy is making them feel wonky. They don't need a solution in that moment, right? The child doesn't have logic, it doesn't think linearly, doesn't problem solve. They are just this energetic being experiencing the world. And underneath all this conditioning that each one of us have is still that sensitive, energetic child. That's what's underneath there for every single person on planet Earth. Even if you feel completely numb, guess what? That you've had to numb yourself, because sometimes when you're so sensitive, the only way to get through this world is by numbing these parts, and you get so numb that you think, I don't feel anything anymore. But it's like what's underneath all that is how sensitive you actually are. And so what we want to learn, what we really want to learn, is not how do we turn away from the part and try to change what's happening, but how do we facilitate an environment in which the part can soothe itself again. Right? Again, think about the child to the mother and the father is coming to get an embrace, to get some energy. Like if you have young children, even as they're starting to create more distance physically, they constantly look back, always checking. Are mom and dad looking at me? Are mom and dad looking at me? Right? Why? Because every time that anxiety comes up, knowing that mom and dad are there and that connection calms their nervous system down, then they travel a little bit further. They travel a little bit further, inch by inch, to get further out. And what the child is developing is safety, right? And dependency to be on their own, essentially. And what they're doing is they're leveraging the energy of the parent and the nervous system of the parent. They're templating it to downregulate their own nervous system, relax, and move forward into the world. And so we want to take this kind of thinking into our own healing. We want to realize that what we really want to retrain ourselves is not how to think better, but how to actually downregulate our nervous system and ground our energetic body when we're in a heightened state, when the inner critic is really, really going. Notice that, like, the inner critic is not very loud when you're relaxed, right? The inner critic is very loud in moments of tension. Is there anything you want to add to this?
I'm just curious from as guys talking, if anyone is unclear about something or has a question about anything that he's sharing right now, because this is really, really important. If there's anything that you're wanting a little bit more clarity or anything like that, just please drop it in the comment box.
Beautiful. And so I'll kind of like describe this process to you guys just a little bit better. Let me just put myself up on the big screen. Uh, so if you I don't want you, it's funny to say that. If you I was gonna say if you think about it, but I don't want you to think about it. I want you to feel about it. The way that we experience the world, most people think that they're like, yes, this is such an important organ, right? But right now, again, I'm not talking to spiritual science. I'm saying science is telling us that yes, we have neurons in the brain, but we now know we have neurons in our heart, we have neurons in our gut. Okay. It means that these two, we know factually, are thinking organs. Okay. And we all intuitively know this. Oh, I had this gut feeling. My heart told me to do that, right? We have this terminology and language. It shouldn't be a surprise to find out that yes, these things are actually thinking organs. We also know that for every one signal your brain sends down to your gut, that your gut sends 9 signals up. Today, your gut is seen as the primary thing that if you want your health to be right, you got to get your gut health right. If this is banged up, you're screwed up across the board, right? So I just want you to think about this. So suddenly we're getting this switch and this idea of what mindset is, of what consciousness is, and I think eventually we'll have determination that the entire organ that we call the human body is one mind and is an act of consciousness. And for those of you guys who develop yourself in the awareness practices that we offer here, you're going to find that out really soon. You're going to be like, oh, it's all awareness, right? We just have to learn how to step back into our awareness and spend and invest more and more of our time in our awareness and less of our time in our conditioned minds. Because if you really want to unlock the power of your humanity, I got to tell you, you're not going to learn it from the conditioning here, because that conditioning is set. Can you make changes to it? Absolutely. Is it challenging? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because this is so fundamental to your safety, how this conditioning works, that it doesn't like to change very much. So you want to look at this, right? We have an environment around
One
us.
second. One second.
Yeah,
So
sure.
just to this level, it doesn't want to change. So how many of you guys, right? Like we're going into the new year, 2022.
Mhm.
I don't know how many of you guys have created New Year's resolutions or things that you want, but let's just not even talk about this year. Let's talk about years prior. This is something that you've gone through time and time again, right? You create these things, best of intentions, new year, new me, new visions, new, right? How many of those things actually come to fruition? How quickly does it take for the default patterns of your life to come back into play? How fast? A day, a week, a month? Right? Just notice, like, with the best of intentions and all, like, this is the year. This is the one that I'm going to do it. Right? It's right there. These default patterns are right there. And then where most people go to try to make this year the best year, it's like, okay, I'm going to overcome these patterns in a few seconds. I'm going to overcome these patterns. I'm going to figure out how to shut this part of me down so I can go about my business and live the life that I'm actually supposed to live. Because how many of you guys would agree that you've done enough work and spent enough energy and enough money that you should be, and listen to this words, that you should be farther along than you are right now? How many of you guys would agree with that statement? Like that resonates for you. I should be farther along than I am right now. So here's the thing. If all of that resonates for you, then what Guy is pointing to, these default self-preservation mechanisms, I don't care how much understanding you have and how clear and powerful your intentions and visions, and how you sat in meditation for 12 hours listening to sound bowl healings and people channeling, and you're like, this year it's going to be different. Your parts and your programs don't give a shit. Because the second, and someone said this below, the second you start to follow your intuition and you take a step into that big world of the unknown, has this ever come on board? Like if you want to move across the country, you want to leave a relationship, get into a relationship, take a new job, whatever it is, when you choose because you're like, this is it for me, I'm going to move forward. Have any of you ever had this moment where you choose to take this new path and your mind's like, oh my God, I'm so excited. Let's do this thing. Or it's like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Why would we do that? That's suicide. Why would you take this step? Why would you leave this cushy thing? Why would you go date that person after you have this person? Why? And all of it to say to what Guy's point is like, if there's no safety in the system, which none of us have because none of us had the programming on how to create that, then these parts and these programs are at DEFCON 12, right? Like the emergency button's always being hit, and they're always trying to figure out how to bring you back into a place that feels okay. But the place that feels okay for you is the same one that you just told me you shouldn't be in. You should be farther along. So every time you want to take a step into that big world, these parts just go, no, 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 no. Right here. This is our playground. We're good here. Stay in this box. We'll be okay. But you're like, no, 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 but I want love. No, 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 you don't. Love gets us hurt. Love is what breaks our heart. We've done that before. Remember? We don't want that again. Right here. No, no, but I want to start a business. No, 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 no. Remember last time you started a business, it was terrible. Do you remember how much money we lost? How many people's lives we hurt? Blah, blah, blah. No, no, no. Like, we're going to stay here. No, no, but I really want to start to follow my intuition. Are you kidding me? Follow your intuition? Last time we followed our intuition and led us to this horrible situation. Why would we ever do that? Back here. And so now you can, it doesn't matter what you want to create. That's the thing that's always going to be in the way. So it's not your health, it's not your money, it's not your circumstances, it's not the people in your life, it's not anything. It's simply these patterns. So if you come about like, I have to remove this pattern, I have to get rid of this pattern so I can move along, you've all tried that, that doesn't work. And so where guys transitioning to you is like, how can we find love and acceptance and even gratitude for the power of these patterns? Because until you get to that place and you can literally turn to this pattern and go, wow, thank you so much for taking care of me all these years. And Will Smith said this great line in the book. He said, the problem is, it's like this boat got you to this place, right? Like this boat gets you to this island. But the same boat can't get you to the next place that you want to get to. And so at some point, we all have to take a step back and look at all the patterns and structures that make us who we are and be willing to release them, but not release them from a place of hate or get the fuck away from me or why are you ruining my life, but release them from a place of almost like, you know, when you send your child off to school or to college, like that, like with so much love and admiration and gratitude in your heart, but you also know that it's time for them to move on. Like that kind of place. And that's not where most people go. Like when you guys are reading books about personal development or mindset, you're not looking for like, oh, I want to fall in love with these parts inside of me. You're like, I want to figure out how to overcome and get this part to shut the fuck up so I can move on with my life.
So and yeah, and to that point, so all the books are wonderful in retrospect that there's great practices in there. But what's really important to understand is like what's the energy that's sourcing the desire to do that practice. So if you are, for example, doing a million affirmations every single day, you got your malas, 108 this way, 108 that way, you're praying, you're praying, you're praying. But what's sourcing it is fear, scarcity, lack. Then what's going into that prayer, what's going into those practices, what's going into that formula is the scarcity and the lack. Because what's really important is not the action that you're taking, it's the quality of the energy behind that action. And so we're hyper focused on the qualitative aspect of energy before you do any practice. How do we bring yourself, how do we bring the system, how do we bring the nervous system to a neutral state, and then go do all the practices? Because I don't know about you guys, but like two, right? We're in the year 22. Two means duality. So this year may have a lot to do with this back and forth duality, right? And we're living in a very interesting times that is really enabling us to see these pendulum swings. Now, most people, when they're trying to find center, they think that it's the place between the polarities. They think there's something that they're missing, that's some neutral state. But in order to find neutrality, it's actually accepting and being with both poles. You actually hold both in your system at the same time.
Yeah.
So both the negative and positive aspects, and I mean that more energetically than bad or good. Holding both the polarities in your system. That also means holding two mindsets.
To
Understanding
ideas.
why, yeah, ideas, why somebody may want to take a vaccine and why another person may not want to take a vaccine, and actually hold both of those in your system. Because whatever is deciding that for you, again, don't want to get into all the logistics around and who's right and who's wrong. It's, again, what's really at play is different people's safety protocols and how they got informed through their life. And then, of course, whatever in the world is presented to them that fits into that bias. Oh, that's my team, right? But it's like, but if you want to find neutrality in your life, there's no neutrality and be like, I know this is the right thing and that's the only thing, and the neutral place, and where magic happens. Literally, the source of magic is the center. You can either work your ass off in this life and get a little trickle. Well, that's nice, and you will, right? Because hard work does pay off to an extent. But again, what's working hard? Are you working so hard because you're so afraid that if you stop for 1 second, it's all going to come crumbling down? Then that to me shows a really not healthy qualitative energy behind your action. And so what you'll find is whatever the quality of the energy is behind the action is really what's sourcing the results that you're getting. And so if you want your life to be easy, peaceful, joyful, neutral, flowy, intuitive, then trying to get around all your machinery doesn't work. That's what most mindset development is centered and oriented around. Learning how to go through it so that the part that's been trying to get around it is no longer afraid. The nervous system can relax. And then this part no longer has to berate you from within because it actually feels safe. This is how we decrease or even completely resolve inner criticism. And when you resolve inner criticism, you resolve outer criticism. Period. The judgments you have about other people are the judgments you have about yourself that you hide from yourself. And because you're not aware that you're judging yourself internally, that's how the system sets it up. It broadcasts it externally and it goes, these people are wrong. But all you're saying is, that's wrong. I wouldn't be that way in my system. And because you say that, you turn away from that part in your system. That part remains afraid and it is running the show, and it is running it in a stealth way. That's just like with Will Smith and him learning about his cowardice, but like that's what's been running the show. So we all have that version of not being good enough, not being worthy enough, right? Like, and again, this is so organized in our society that the only way that you're worth anything is by achieving something. And that's probably the biggest lie in our society, is that the value of a human being is what they can achieve. Even think about how we raise capital or how we invent things today. It's like, if it doesn't have utility, it's not worth anything. Like, people don't even invent stuff just for the sake of inventing stuff. They have to invent stuff so that it could create a business and make money and do all the things. And so we stifle our ability to be intuitive and creative because it has to fit into this narrow band of, well, money creates safety. So I got to invent something that I love, but create safety for my system, instead of just letting your system open and be intuitive and create. And then maybe it creates money, maybe it doesn't. But when we create the parameters that achieving is the only way that we have value, again, think about your own life and how you've tried to become something or prove to your parents that you're something, thinking that if you become that, you'll finally earn that respect or that connection or that love. And I could tell you, we have to work very diligently with our students to like work through those aspects and have them realize that they are worthy of love and connection and all those things, not because they're achieving, but just because they are. Right. And so we're all so diligently looking for this purpose. Your purpose is to be. And if so being is your purpose, then being is enough. And being enough means that you get to receive everything that you're worthy of just by being. And so all the things that come up as I say this, all these parts are like, no, that's not true. Blah, 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 this and that. I gotta do that. Like, every one of those parts, whatever that little voice is for you, is like, imagine if that felt safe. If that part of you felt safe.
Or heard, or
Or heard,
seen,
or
or
no longer have to
witnessed.
work. Yeah, or no longer have to work so hard, and you could be more in that neutral place. And then these pressures from the outside, you could finally breathe from, and weren't so affected or afflicted by other people's drama or the world's drama. You're just centered in your own system, grounded in your own system. And I could tell you, like, that's gradually increasing in where Elon and I get to live day in and day out, and where our students are learning to live day in and day out. And it's not a mental realization. They've understood that there's an environment out here. Their system, this subconscious system, is actively participating and reacting based on their conditioning to these external forces. And they will always be reactive to that until they learn how to downregulate the nervous system, or, said another way, ground their energy, and so that they don't have to be. And so this is what's different between just doing mindset and also bringing in awareness and energetic work, is that with mindset, you'll get the understanding, and then you'll be able to see it and be like, oh, I don't want to do that right now. And you'll stop doing that sooner. And so it doesn't have such a big impact on your life anymore. That's good. That's a huge win, right? And that's better than 90-ish, plus percent of most people on planet Earth. When you start bringing awareness and energy, you bring the healing directly to the experience of the body. So instead of like trying to figure out what's going on and going down, you go right into the root part of the system, so to speak, with awareness. You learn how to sit with that part, just like a parent would with a child, how to go into higher state of consciousness, because you need, yep, You need a different vantage point, right, than the one that you have. That's important. You need to become subjective, not objective, over that thing. And this is all happens inside of awareness. Very simple. We'll give you guys a taste of it in just a minute here. And once that happens, the part can be like, huh, ground, safety. And when that happens, what you start realizing is that your mind, to this inner critic, all it's really doing is responding to scared parts inside of your system. And it has a certain program and something that it says when a part inside of your body and inside of your energy body is scared and kind of out of whack. And so imagine that if you give safety to that part in the system, and now that same stimulus comes, but you don't get that feeling inside of your body, then your mind doesn't need to intervene. It doesn't have to say anything. It doesn't have to give you a directive. It doesn't have to say you're bad. It doesn't have to work harder. It just doesn't say anything because it's not responding to any subconscious stimulus anymore. And that's what our work is about resolving the subconscious stuff that your conscious mind, or what you can be aware of, is constantly responding to, and just completely bring it around to the system. So why don't we, if you're standing, or if you're sitting, just get comfy, and we'll give you guys here a few minute tasters. But before we do that, here's what I want to tell you guys. Like you see that link down below, satoriprime.com/register. Let me just see if I can get this on the screen. Just want to show you what's over there. Bro, you tell me if you see it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So if you go to satoriprime.com, register, this is the screen you'll see. There's a little trailer over here of an event Ilan and I did a few years ago. You can set yourself a reminder if you're enjoying these trainings. Just put a calendar reminder for yourself. But the ways you can participate with what we do here at Satori Prime is twofold. There's really only two paths to get in here. The first is to come to a 2-day live event with us. It's a 2-day intensive that Ilan and I personally put on. The next one will be January 22nd and 23rd. That's a Saturday and Sunday. And if you come to this page and you click over here in this box, you can get all the information from that. And there's also details down here below. So if you just flip this little toggle switch, it'll tell you what's included with that event. The other way, and personally, what I think is even a better game, is our level 1 training, which is our mindset and emotional mastery. Again, what's included in this experience is down here. This is a 6-week live group training program, and then there's a slew of back end training that Ilan and I recorded for you guys that are just really, really profound training. Anybody who's here right now, who's in our L1 or does L1, like almost every single person is just like, wow, this program, unbelievable. And what's great about taking this program is it actually includes a ticket to our live event, and that's why I say it's the best game in town. And it has some other recorded bonus trainings that we are private and you can only get by doing this program, which are actually from this program up here, this trailer that you guys will see. It's the entire program of that. So these are the two pathways into our world. If you want to just come to the 2-day event, you can buy a ticket whenever you like. If you want to be part of level 1, you got to do it through an application process. So if you click here, it'll just take you over to a quick form to fill out. It takes like 3 to 5 minutes. Fill it out, and then you can book a call with someone from our team, like Nikki or Corey. You'll have a chat with them. They'll determine with you whether or not you're in a good place right now to be doing the work, and it's kind of like an interview process back and forth. And then you can choose if the program's good for you, and they'll let you know how to get in there. It's hyper cost effective. We have a lot of payment plans to make it easy for you guys to jump on in there. But those are the best games in town. So just want to let you know how to participate here if you choose to do that. Okay.
Yep. And just as we kind of complete, and we're going to do this little sit, because the real question is, at any moment in time, one of these voices is going to win, right? Either the inner critic or intuition. What you listen to and respond to and take action from is the one that you're giving strength and power to. So if the inner critic is dominating your world and has you take certain actions because it spits certain things at you, that means you're giving your listening and attention to the inner critic. But you're going, I want to listen to the intuition. And so the intuition might chirp something, and that chirping might not make any linear sense whatsoever, because your intuition has It listens to your heart. It listens to what your soul actually wants. It's not driven by linearity and safety, right? So it's going to chirp something and you're going to say, no, that's fucking crazy. I'm never going to do that. Then in that moment, you've squashed intuition and again, given power to inner critic. And this is why we're so out of balance. So when we start, what we're looking to do is how can we even direct energy? And we do this through what we call the awareness effect. How can we direct energy? Even if not our listening yet, but energy to the parts of us that have most been locked up in closets, kicked to the curb, and said that it's not okay and I don't want to listen to you because I don't have time. And in that switch and transition is where we start to cultivate this new superpower. So that's what we're going to get a taste of right now.
I'll let you lead.
Sure.
Yep.
So if you're driving, just please be mindful. Don't You don't have to do this now. You can come back to the recording at a later date. At a later date. But if you're just sitting, just close your eyes and get comfortable wherever you're sitting, and just start by taking 3 deep breaths. And as you exhale, see if you can bring your awareness and just begin to notice your lower stomach, your hips and legs in a chair. And we're going to just begin to bring our awareness and energy down. And with this last exhale, see if you can bring the awareness and exhale all the way down to your feet, to your toes. Deep breath in and exhale all the way down. And just begin to feel your toes. And as you feel your toes and bring your awareness to your toes, you might be able to start to feel sensations like a tingling, a cooling or a heating, a vibrating. Just keep notice the toes and the bottom of the feet. And now from here, think of something that you really, really want in this upcoming new year. Almost feel it and see it in your heart. Notice as you create this thing, what happens to your heart. Does it feel like it's opening wider? Maybe the beat becomes louder or more felt. Maybe there's a warmth or a tingling or even like a pulling forward. Allow yourself to really feel that connection. And if you can feel that, I just want to highlight that this is how our intuition actually communicates with us. More than words, sentences, or visualizations. This is when your heart feels this way. This is what the heart's and soul's deepest desire actually feels like. And now, just to feel the contrast of this, I want you to start to notice any fear that you have about actually creating this goal. And as you do that, just start to notice what happens to your heart And you might even start to feel things start to bubble in your stomach or solar plexus. So your heart might feel like it's kind of starting to clamp up and close. Your stomach might feel to start to sink and burble. Just really start to notice that. And I just want to highlight here that this is where our protectors, the parts, the strategies, all the things that we spoke about, this is where they live. They're not trying to battle you. They're not even trying to stop you from having this. They're just really, really scared of what it would mean if you took that step, what it would mean if it didn't work out, if you failed again. And even as I name that, that tension in your stomach and the clenching in your heart might get stronger and stronger. And so, just so you get a sense of the work that we do, we actually go to work and start to deal with and be with these parts. Because until this is handled, this is what will always run the show. And the only way is to have these parts be seen and witnessed by yourself and by others. And in that, in the moment that they are seen and heard and witnessed, their hold on you will release. So I don't want to leave you here right now because that might be very uncomfortable for you guys. So just bring your awareness back to your heart. And I want you to notice how quickly this is going to shift back. Think of something or someone that you really, really love and just hold them in your mind's eye and just start to notice as you do that what happens to your heart. Maybe your child or pet, a parent, an intimate lover. Notice how quickly your body responds to these shifts. When we live in this place, open hearted awareness, everything can flow through you and life stops being linear and starts being magical. But magic is only reserved for those who are courageous enough to jump off of cliffs with no parachutes, no wings, or any idea of how to create them on the way down. And that's what it takes to live the life that you most want. So, whenever you are ready to jump off of one of those cliffs and be supported and know that you will be taken care of, that's where you can begin this path with us here. And until you're ready for that, you can keep coming back to these Tuesdays. And when your soul is ready, you just listen and it will tell you. And if you're courageous enough to take that action, your life will never be the same. Sending you guys lots of love. If you need any questions answered, any support, please, 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 even in the comment box right now, you just say, hey, contact me. Corey, Nikki, Jazz, the rest of our team will be more than happy to reach out to you and have these conversations. If I can wish anything for you in year of 22, is that you no longer do this personal development work on your own. It took me nearly 2 decades to figure out that with support, I can move so much faster. I don't need all the answers. I don't need to have things figured out. I just need to know how to ask for help. So I hope you do the same this year and you don't need to wait 2 decades to do that for yourself.
Awesome.
Thank you guys.
Guys, if you're If you're new, like Elon said, and you're on the fence, even if you're confused but you're interested, again, you could just say contact me in the box below. And Nikki, Corey, Jasmine, someone will reach out to you and offer you support, let you know how to get resources, how you could set up a call if you want to do that. So you guys get a sense of the work because, of course, we can talk about it and around it. Our work is extraordinarily experiential. We can explain it, but the reality is like learning how to go into higher states of consciousness, how to view the system, the daily practices that we do that help bring ground and safety into the system, and then everything really transpires from there. That's what our 2-day event is for. That's what the mindset and emotional mastery level 1 is for, is to set that super strong foundation. And our wish and hopes for everybody is that no matter what you're facing in your life, you could do it with stability, because no one can control your circumstances. What we do have a say over is the grounded instability in our system. And that's just a matter of practicing, just like anything else in life worth getting better at. Stability is something that can be learned. It's a learned response. So best thing to do is to listen to other people who have gone through these experiences, speak about it, feel their energy. That way you can relate, hey, I'm dealing with that. Maybe this would be a good thing for me, or maybe not, right? So I'll play you guys out with a trailer here. Please enjoy it for as long as you like. Again, the link is down there, satoriprime.com/register, or just let us know in the chat box if you need some support. We love you very much. Happy New Year. Please enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Everyone.
You put words to something that is inexplicable. How do you try to convey, other than I hope the energy and the love you can feel coming through this, like how amazing and cracked open I feel? How after a life's journey of traumas and bliss and books and self-development and walking the Camino de Santiago, which was 800 kilometers in 33 days of meditation and being connected to earth and interacting with other pilgrims for all over the world. What an amazing experience that was. That changed me, but I can't tell you how much more 2 days with all these beautiful souls online in this event, how much more that even cracked me open, how that did crack me open, finally cracked me open. The deep-seated feelings of well-being, of connection, those aha moments, going into this with no expectations, with my heart open, it's life-altering. I sort of equate it to being when you first fall in love with someone and how blissful that is and everything's great and wonderful, and then, it's the honeymoon period. But this is not that. This is the honeymoon period with yourself, which is never going to end. I cannot stress enough how much this is actually easy, as they had said. Come if you're called, come if you're engaged. My experience, I can tell you, is not atypical. It's extremely typical for those that open up and feel this connection together. Can you do things on your own? Absolutely. Can you do things one-on-one with coaches? Fabulously. I get chills saying this, can you grow in leaps and bounds when you connect with a large group of like-minded souls? The energy between us all, the love, that deep-seated feeling of wellness and connection. You're not alone. You're here for a reason. Nothing's a coincidence. Like, it just all clicks and becomes this most beautiful experience. I hope for any of you that are remotely called to do this, that you will seek these people out, this organization out, this love out, because it's there for you. It's that easy.
I went to their 2-day event this last weekend, and it's just been such a phenomenal growth in my path. I felt like it's exactly what I've been asking for. I had this amazing ability to really, truly come inside myself, listen. So easy. I've been, quote, trying for years, but I think that was part of the problem. I was trying too hard. And when they mentioned just without effort, it almost gave me the permission to just literally feel and drop in and allow whatever was coming up. And in their meditations and in their deep energetic work, I felt so much that it was shocking to me. And I've been able to continue throughout the last few days since the event. And I'm just so grateful. I'm currently in some challenging times, and I feel like that was the missing piece. I'd been trying to do it from my mind and not knowing how to really deeply go into my body and feel and heal. And that process was unleashed during this event, and I'm continuing it. And I'm so amazed at how easy and how effortless it really is. Been on a path of embodiment for many years. Lots of self-awareness and personal growth, but it's like that wasn't enough. I felt stuck, and I knew and I felt that there was a lot of stuck energy and, past pain and in my body, and I didn't know how to touch it, even with all the different modalities I've done. This is a missing piece that I've been asking the universe to show me, and when the student is ready, the teachers appear, and that's what has happened. And I'm excited to work with Guy and Ilan some more, and I'd encourage anybody who's thinking about this in this work event in the future to consider it, because it's really powerful, deep, transformational work. Thank you.
I just experienced the second 2-day intensive with Guy and Ilan and Satori Prime, and it's overwhelming. The number one thing is the support. 2, and I said this on day 1 of the 2-day, the abundance of honesty that comes out of this work is in and of itself medicine. Honest with yourself, honest with listening to other people and their stories, not taking it in to a point where it affects you, but taking it in to a point where it allows you to feel and to move through it with them and within yourself. And that's what this program does. At least it has for me. And to feel all of the feels and to not be afraid of them and to have the support when you want to turn around and walk away, they say no. You don't have to. They don't tell you you can't, but they tell you you don't have to. And in doing so, it opens up so much more. The field of energy that was coming through on day 2 was so overwhelming that when my other half walked in to give me some news regarding one of my stressors, I didn't see him. I saw the energy and I saw the emotion and I felt it and I knew it, and I was so protected and so safe that moment alone was worth all the weight in gold. This is a powerful thing. I can see it changing my life in good ways, in ways that I still question, and in ways that I want to still question. Thank you to the entire Satori Prime family. Thank you. I'm better today than I was yesterday. I was better yesterday than I was 2 months ago when I signed up for round 1. And I can't wait to see where this journey takes me and us together, because I know that we're going to be better a month from now, a year from now, because we're doing the work. So, thank you. Mwah.
So I've been trying to find what happened to me that day, and the neurotraumatic experiences just kept happening to me. And it felt like each one, the next would be more extreme than the last. It didn't matter how many books I read, how much I prayed, how much I meditated. I went to counseling. I still am in counseling. I've been going to counseling my whole life. I had a life coach. I'm actually training to become a life coach as well. Working out, vision boards, affirmations, You name it, I did it. I wanted to know all about it, but it didn't help me stop my cycles. In that second meditation, I've come to aware that I took all of those moments for granted. And that was sad, and it was probably a really big disappointment to look at myself like that I have all of these beautiful days that I'm wasting, and I could be present for them all. Not only for myself, but for a lot of people out there. Sorry. No, I'm not, actually. I'm supposed to feel that. I'm gonna allow that in. Every experience can be different. It truly was a pivotal moment for me of where there was before this experience and after it. And I know that it's only catapulted me to only further my growth. And that to me is something that I can't thank enough, and I can't be more grateful for. So if you guys are wanting to do this experience, I encourage it. I encourage you to do as many experiences as you can, because it's life-changing and it's amazing. And I can't thank enough everyone, even for the mini groups and everything after it that they provide, is support with like-minded individuals that I honestly, I'm so filled with happiness and so much gratefulness in my heart that there's no dictionary to describe this kind of stuff, but I hope that I was able to, put it into a little part of a testimony for you guys and explaining it as the best I could. I love you all.
It's been a wonderful 2 days, emotional, and I just had to take a couple days to process it all, because it just seemed, but it was very, very intense, and it was a wonderful journey to be on, that's for sure. There's two reasons for me that hurdles that I kind of had to take. Excuses, right? We make up excuses for ourselves, and whatever they are. I don't have the money, I don't have the time, it's not the right time for me, or I can do it on my own, whatever. You have those excuses and you go back and forth in your own head. And the other thing was that I thought I could do it alone, that what I really needed was I needed help. And I actually came face to face with that. And so those two kind of things came to a head, plus talking to Nikki and Corey, I decided, what can I lose, really, right? So you go back and forth in your own mind, and at least I do talk to myself too much. So I took the leap of faith, and I went and I took the 2-day course, and I am so proud and happy for myself that I did. It took me, like I said, a couple days to process it all, because it was so intense, and just the collective. It's such a safe, loving, protected place to be. You don't have to be afraid. And if we're on the fence, going back and forth like I was, I recommend that you just do it. It's a gift for yourself. The support, the love, that's exactly what I needed. I needed to have someone to tell me that, I'm worth it, and I'm not alone, that there's other people out there on the same journey, have the same feelings as well. Thank you so much for just being there. It's amazing. Love you.
Trying to put into words the experience that I had, which is actually quite difficult. I went on a journey for the best part of it. Guy and Ilan are very, very good at guiding people, and obviously within this event there was around 50 odd people all sharing this experience with me, which created a very powerful energy field. And as they were guiding us, and to get people to understand and help you understand certain aspects of yourself, we are multidimensional beings. We live in multiple realities at the same time, and I think what happens is we get pulled into this reality, as beautiful as it is, through our senses. And that isn't every reality. There is lots of other areas that for us to explore. And Guy and Ilan are very good at guiding you to open up these different pathways, these different realities. So for me personally, deeply connected to the earth, I felt almost just part of the energy field of the earth at times. I was connected to what I can only describe as beings of light, which were coming to visit me, even maybe ancestral parts of my ancestry, and that was a very powerful experience. And even beyond that, I was viewing the Earth from the moon. There was a lot of visuals for me, and I found it very, very powerful to hear everyone else's story as well, and everyone else's experience, should I say. There was a lot of people, they were opening up parts of themselves that maybe hadn't been open for a very long time, and there was a lot of healing going on, and I found that absolutely amazing. I think for me personally, what I can bring from and what I've experienced, and what Guy and Ilan really help with, is we have a very busy reality. We live very, very fast lives. We have been conditioned, or we've conditioned ourselves to live like this. Everything moves at quite a fast pace, including our thoughts now. I don't think it's always been like this. In fact, I know it hasn't always been like this. And so what this really helps you do is just take in the stillness of everything. And it allows you to really sink in and just allow that stillness to be. And that is by far the most powerful thing I took from this experience. And I think many others would do as well. And if you haven't been on it, I would definitely recommend going on it, 100%. Like I say, it's hard to put into words, the experience.
So I didn't know what to expect from the 2-day Intuitive Mind event. And honestly, I was a little bit anxious about spending that much uninterrupted time just focused on me. But I'm so glad that I followed my intuition and participated, because it far exceeded any expectations that I could have conceived before. Not only was the event itself powerful and transformative, but now it's 4 days later, and I have received daily more downloads, information, just insights that have been really special. There's been a new level of calm and peace and just trust in my body system since the event, and that alone is priceless. I can't wait for more events. I think Guy and Ilan are so knowledgeable and supportive, and I can't wait to continue this beautiful journey with you. Thank you so much for the work that you do. I love you, and you're really making the world a better place. So thank you.
I pondered over doing this, trying to work out how do I explain what just happened. The first thing, I guess for me, a lot of the energy workshops I've done is generally with women. It's generally, it's not unheard of that I go to events and there's me and 19 other women at these events, held space by women. I just seem to be more attracted to, I guess, the feminine, if you need a word. Or there's just not a lot of men going to these type of workshops. I never knew, I just go along. These two have cultivated within themselves the ability to hold gentle, loving space. And from a big-hearted man like me, that to me is priceless in itself. There's a little bit of a finding home. And for a weekend where I did fuck all, there was just space. Just space. To feel the transformation on the spot of people in the group from an energetic perspective, not from the words that they spoke perspective, I loved. What brought me to the event was just I'd only followed these guys, I stumbled across them, I've only followed them for a couple of months. And just went, oh, that feels all right, I'm not going to do that. Did I have some resistance after that decision? Of course, I did, you know. What am I doing? A couple of fucking randoms on the internet, shit. I have a little gullible piece, so I'm very wary of being taken advantage of. Yeah, so for you, it's a feeling. It's a feeling. It's not an intellectual decision. If you're making an intellectual decision, it might not be right for you. There is changes that are possible. You just need to put your hand up.
I've been on my self-development journey for 5 years now, and I have always had problems to sustain the energy in my body due to physical pains that I have. And these pains, they like feed the blockages that I have in my body. So falling into mind and stress and self-sabotage over and over again, for me it's just inevitable because I never really could hold that foundation inside, that was missing for me. And when I heard that Guy and Ilan had a live event coming up, and somebody invited me if I wouldn't like to join, because that was exactly what I was looking for, to get unstuck in my energy and unstuck in self-sabotaging myself. So my mind went a bit haywire because I had a work weekend that weekend, and I didn't really have the financial means to join. So I thought it over, and I went to my boss, and I was able to switch my work weekend around, and I lent the money from my husband, and I could attend. So because I knew not going was, just something when it feels right, you've just got to get that. And that's what that event was for me. And during this event, what happened for me was I've never felt something like that before. Nearly at the end of the event, when we were invited to join an exercise, it just released a wave of ugliness and shame inside myself that flooded out me. I could see and feel all that blame, everything just flooded out. And what I realized was that I just forgave myself, and I didn't know that was a work that I still needed to do. And when that happened, it was as if my solar plexus just opened up when all that wave of ugliness and shame went outside my body. I can't explain it any otherwise. And I couldn't grasp these feelings that happened over the 2 days, but it was as if my body and soul were getting ready to release all that. So I didn't understand it, but my body already and my soul knew what was happening to me. And it was just amazing that everything inside myself knew that I couldn't carry those and handle those feelings anymore. So at the end of that exercise, everything that blocked me was just gone. And it was always as if my solar plexus was pushing me down. And now it is as if I have a strong person inside myself, like this strong energy that opens up. I don't know how to explain that. And it's just a feeling like, oh God. Even just expressing my feelings on camera like this, or being vulnerable, it's just nothing that I've ever done. So this is really new to me, and I'm nervous, but it's also exciting to just be able to do this and not hide underneath my stomach anymore and just being pushed away. So it's fantastic. And these are really exercise and tools that Guy used that everybody can learn. I think it's always being so overcomplicated to get in touch with your feeling inside that a lot of people are afraid to do that. And I just went in open-minded, and I just believe everything is possible now. It's just, it's fantastic. It's really fantastic. I've never felt more like myself than I do today. So really, I appreciate you, Guy and Ilan. Thank you so much for the work that you two are doing with this beautiful community, and I just can't wait for the next live event to happen. So until we see each other again, all the best to you, and thank you very, very much for just setting me free and just making me smile the whole day. It's fantastic. Thank you.
I walked in with an open mind, and what I walked out with was a lot more than that. I walked out with an open heart, an open mind, and a whole new experience. And it was so worth it. A life-changing experience, I could call it that. I've never felt that way before. I have read many books. I have taken some courses. I have been working on my personal development. And I found the weekend has changed me forever. I felt at peace, I felt secure, I felt safe, I felt loved, and I felt completely tranquil and still. And it was an amazing, amazing, amazing experience, providing a very safe, comfortable, loving, supportive environment. They constantly reassured us. They were there to support us, and we could feel that. And I thank them so much for that. I felt like I was flying high that day. The point that I had reached through those 2 days in my experience, in my meditations, I have never reached that level before. Also, the people that attended in the group, everyone was amazing. Such great experiences, gave you so much perspective, insights on what everyone is experiencing and how we can, help support each other, learn from each other, and also build friendships in the Facebook group that we have. That is a wonderful thing. I'm checking it every day, and it's just amazing, the amount of beautiful souls out there, and I highly recommend this. And I hope you too come and join our live experience once again and see what it's all about. And you too will see that it is life-changing. And I thank you all, and I hope to see you there.